When it comes to avoidance, love doesn't follow the usual rules. They don't fall easily, they don't trust quickly, and they certainly don't open up to just anyone. Their world is built around self-protection, distance, and emotional walls that feel impossible to climb. Yet, despite all of this, there exists one rare type of person who has the power to break through their defenses. This isn't about manipulation or chasing. It's about embodying qualities that touch the deepest part of their soul. For an avoidant, once they find this person, the bond is not temporary. It becomes lifelong, unforgettable, and unshakable. Avoidants live in a world where emotional closeness feels dangerous rather than comforting. Their upbringing, past wounds, or experiences of rejection often taught them that being vulnerable comes at too high of a cost. Instead of reaching out, they retreat inward, building emotional walls as a way to protect themselves from hurt. On the outside, this makes them seem distant, cold, or even uninterested. But underneath is a heart that has been trained to survive by keeping love at arm's length. They may want closeness like anyone else, but the fear of being trapped, judged, or abandoned keeps them from fully allowing it. These walls are not temporary barriers. They are deeply ingrained patterns that shape how they connect with people in every aspect of life. For most people who encounter an avoidant, these walls feel impossible to break. They try harder, give more, or push for answers, but the more pressure an avoidant feels, the stronger their defenses become. The avoidant withdraws even further, confirming the frustration of the one who's trying to reach them. It becomes a cycle. One person wants closeness, the avoidant fears it, and both end up feeling misunderstood. This is why avoidants rarely form deep, lasting bonds. They simply don't let many people past their carefully constructed defenses. Yet, this doesn't mean they are incapable of love. Their emotional walls exist because love and attachment matter to them far more than they admit. Deep inside, avoidants long for safety, acceptance, and a love that doesn't demand or pressure them. But until they encounter someone who understands the delicate balance of giving them space while still offering connection, their guard remains up. That's why bonding with an avoidant is so rare, because it requires qualities most people don't naturally bring into a relationship. The truth is, avoidants do not connect with just anyone. While many people may be kind, attractive, or even deeply in love with them, there is only one rare type of person who has the ability to slip past their defenses. This person carries a unique quality that feels different from all the others they have encountered. A calm, grounded energy that doesn't seek to control or fix them. Instead of trying to tear down the walls, this rare individual respects their space while still showing quiet, consistent care. It's not about loud gestures or dramatic declarations. It's about the way they create an atmosphere where the avoidant doesn't feel pressured to perform or defend themselves. What makes this quality so rare is that it's rooted in authenticity and emotional steadiness. Most people approach love with expectations, demands, or unspoken needs, which to an avoidant feels like pressure. But this one rare person doesn't chase validation or beg for closeness. They embody self-respect, emotional balance, and independence. To the avoidant, this feels safe because it shows they are not dealing with someone who will overwhelm them or threaten their freedom. This rare quality is like a key that fits perfectly into a lock the avoidant never thought could be opened. When an avoidant encounters such a person, something shifts inside them. They may still resist at first, but deep down, they recognize that this connection is different. They can sense they're not being judged for their distance or punished for their need for space. For the first time, they feel seen without being smothered. And it's this feeling, the sense of freedom combined with acceptance, that sparks the possibility of a lifelong bond. Few people can provide this, which is why avoidants only bond for life with that one rare person. Avoidants do not respond well to pressure or attempts to force emotional closeness. The more someone pushes, insists, or demands, the more their walls tighten and the more they retreat into themselves. This is why patience and consistency are not just virtues, they are necessities when it comes to connecting with an avoidant. They need to feel that you are steady, reliable, and calm, even when they pull away or act distant. It is not about grand gestures or constant attention. It is about showing up in a way that demonstrates trustworthiness and emotional stability over time. This quiet, unwavering presence slowly chips away at the fear and skepticism that has kept them guarded for so long. Consistency is what separates fleeting connections from the rare, lifelong bonds avoidants form. A person who disappears when it gets hard, who reacts with frustration, or who tries to force intimacy will never reach them. On the other hand, someone who understands that closeness is earned, not demanded, creates the conditions in which the avoidant can feel safe. They begin to see that trust is not a trap, and that showing vulnerability does not always result in hurt. This builds a foundation for a bond that feels secure, steady, and real. Patience is equally critical. Avoidants move at their own pace, often much slower than the average person expects. Rushing them only reinforces the idea that emotional intimacy is dangerous or suffocating. By patiently allowing them to set the rhythm of the relationship, the rare person demonstrates respect for their needs, proving that they can be trusted with their inner world. Over time, this approach transforms the avoidant's perception of love from something risky and unpredictable to something steady and dependable. And it is through this consistent patience that the bond becomes not just possible, but enduring for life. Avoidants crave connection, but they also fear being trapped or overwhelmed. This is why emotional safety and freedom are crucial when forming a deep bond with them. They need to feel that they can express themselves without judgment and that stepping closer doesn't mean losing themselves. The rare person who successfully bonds with an avoidant understands this delicate balance. They provide intimacy without suffocation, affection without obligation, and support without control. This creates a sense of safety that avoidants rarely experience, allowing them to gradually lower their defenses. Freedom plays a surprisingly powerful role in this dynamic. Avoidants are often drawn to people who respect their independence and give them space to breathe. When they sense that someone is comfortable letting them have alone time, make decisions on their own, and maintain their personal boundaries, they begin to trust that the relationship is secure. This trust is not immediate. It builds slowly as the avoidant sees over time that closeness does not have to be demanding or restrictive. The combination of emotional safety and personal freedom creates an environment where they can explore vulnerability without fear of losing control. This balance is rare because most relationships tilt too far in one direction. Either people push too hard for closeness, which triggers the avoidant's defenses, or they withdraw too much, which leaves the avoidant feeling disconnected. The rare person who achieves this balance instinctively knows how to walk the line, giving affection and attention while also honoring the avoidant's need for autonomy. Over time, the avoidant learns that they can be fully themselves, without masks, without pretenses, while still being deeply connected to someone. This is the foundation for a lifelong bond, because once they experience this type of relationship, they rarely find it again, making it both precious and permanent. The rare person who bonds with an avoidant has a way of seeing them without judgment, understanding them without needing explanations, and accepting them without conditions. Avoidants have spent much of their lives hiding pieces of themselves, fearing that revealing too much will lead to rejection or disappointment. Most people react to their guardedness with frustration, confusion, or attempts to fix them, which only reinforces their walls. But this one rare person mirrors the avoidant's inner world in a subtle, intuitive way. They don't need every thought or feeling explained. They simply sense and acknowledge it, making the avoidant feel truly understood. This unspoken recognition is powerful because avoidants rarely experience it. They may have longed for connection, but most of their relationships have demanded performance, compromise, or emotional exposure they weren't ready for. The rare person doesn't demand. They reflect. They recognize the avoidant's fears, needs, and complexities without pushing or questioning, creating a sense of acceptance that feels revolutionary. To an avoidant, this is not just comforting. It is transformative. It shows them that intimacy can exist without threat, and that love doesn't have to be suffocating or conditional. Understanding without judgment also allows avoidants to gradually reveal their authentic selves. When they feel safe, they start sharing thoughts, emotions, and vulnerabilities they've hidden for years. They no longer need to perform, hide, or retreat. The rare person doesn't exploit this openness. Instead, they respond with empathy, patience, and respect. This reinforces the avoidant's trust and solidifies the bond in a way that is rarely possible with anyone else. Over time, this deep, unspoken connection becomes the foundation for a lifelong relationship because avoidants recognize that they have found someone who truly gets them. Someone they can finally trust with the core of their being. Once an avoidant opens up to someone and forms a deep connection, that bond becomes incredibly rare and enduring. Avoidants do not risk intimacy lightly, and they rarely allow themselves to feel truly seen. When they finally find a person who respects their space, understands their fears, and mirrors their inner world without judgment, the result is a connection that is both profound and lasting. This bond is not easily broken because it is built on trust, patience, and an understanding that most people cannot provide. For an avoidant, it is a once-in-a-lifetime experience, and they instinctively recognize its value. The longevity of this bond stems from the fact that avoidants are highly selective. They may have many casual relationships or fleeting attachments, but few people reach the level of emotional safety required for them to truly invest. Once someone proves themselves worthy of that trust, the avoidant rarely gives that level of intimacy to anyone else. They may still appear distant or private at times, but the depth of their attachment to this rare person is unwavering. Even when challenges arise, their connection has a foundation strong enough to weather misunderstandings, disagreements, or external pressures. This lifelong bond also thrives because the rare person continues to honor the avoidant's need for autonomy while maintaining consistent emotional presence. Avoidants feel free to be themselves without fear of losing the relationship, which reinforces the sense that this connection is irreplaceable. The combination of respect, patience, understanding, and emotional safety creates a bond that becomes central to their life, shaping their emotional world in ways few others can. Once an avoidant forms this connection, it is not just a relationship, it is a rare, enduring attachment that they carry with them for life, recognizing that they have found something truly extraordinary. Bonding with an avoidant is not about changing them, chasing them, or trying to break through their walls by force. It's about embodying qualities that naturally draw them in: patience, consistency, understanding, and respect for their freedom. When the rare person comes along who can offer this without demanding, without pressuring, and without judgment, the avoidant recognizes a connection that is unlike anything they have ever experienced. This bond becomes more than a relationship. It becomes a safe harbor, a place where they can finally let down their defenses and be fully themselves. Once this bond is formed, it is enduring because avoidants do not give their hearts lightly, and they do not repeat this level of trust easily. The rare person who earns their lifelong connection holds a place in their world that is irreplaceable, unforgettable, and profoundly significant. It is a connection built on emotional safety, unspoken understanding, and mutual respect. A bond that withstands time, challenges, and distance. In the eyes of an avoidant, this is the ultimate form of love, rare, transformative, and lifelong.